The incoming Trump wrecking ball taking another swing at the Washington elite. President-elect Donald Trump nominating Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to lead the Department of Health and Human Services. Trump making the announcement on Truth Social saying, quote, Mr. Kennedy will restore these agencies to the traditions of gold standard scientific research and beacons of transparency to end the chronic disease epidemic and to make America great and healthy again. Here's a flashback to what RFK Jr. promised to do.
Don't you want a president who's going to end the corruption at the federal agencies, at FDA, at NIH, at CDC, and at the CIA? And don't you want a president who's going to make America healthy again? I started working on this issue 19 years ago. And for 19 years, I have got every morning, without one exception, I have said a prayer to God to put me in a position where I could end the chronic disease epidemic. And on August 23rd of this year, God sent me Donald J. Trump.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about more meltdowns from the mainstream liberal media because Trump is dropping bombs on the liberals, and they are currently kicking and screaming and crying every single time he announces a new cabinet pick. And this time, he made a promise, and he kept a promise. Actually, he made some promises, and he's kept a lot of promises thus far when it comes to his pick. But this was a big one, okay? This one is involving RFK, okay, who decided to drop out of the race as an independent in order to support Trump. And a lot of people thought that, okay, well, RFK is doing this because he's going to get some type of cabinet position. And I was looking forward to see what RFK would be assigned with because, honestly, I love his Make America Healthy Again slogan. I think that's one of the parts of the next Trump administration that I'm most excited about. We have a lot of health issues in this country. We have an obesity crisis. We have a diabetes crisis. In fact, 1 out of 5 teenagers are pre-diabetic because obesity is so prevalent in this country. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, obesity is quite literally a modern thing that used to not be very prevalent at all back in the day, right? Just 40, 50 years ago, you'd be hard pressed to find a big person, right? An obese person. Now, here's the thing. I have traveled to places like Europe and South America and other parts of the world. And I got to tell you, man, not only is the food different in the sense that the food just seems to be cleaner and there's a whole lot less sugar, but also on top of that, there's just not a lot of obese people walking around, right? Only in America, like quite literally only in America do you walk outside and, like, I don't know, 3 out of 5 people that you see are overweight or obese, right? I mean, it's something that I think is partly an issue with our food and the additives that are put in our foods.
Debate. But with artificial food dyes, they have shown all over the world that they can use colorants that come from fruit.
This is the Canadian version.
This is the brightness of the Canadian version, just for visibility. And this is the brightness of artificial food dyes. So, of course, Kellogg and other food companies will argue children prefer this over this, just as they would prefer cocaine over sugar. That doesn't make it okay.
But I think
the fact that we are poorly educated when it comes to nutrition, I think there's a whole lot that goes into it. And I think there's time for change, right? I think that we have a sick care system instead of a health care system. And the thing that gets me about the left is that the left never wants to address this issue. They always want to say, well, we need universal health care, aka the government, taxpayers, should pay for everybody's health care free of charge, except society's paying for it, right? But yet we can't afford it. We can't afford it because America is too sickly. So if you can solve the problem of people not being so sick not being so overweight, not having all these chronic diseases, then maybe the cost of healthcare will go down for everybody because Americans wouldn't need to see the doctor as much, which would bring down the demand for healthcare, right? Again, a radical idea, okay? Let's lower healthcare costs by having less people need to see the doctor, okay? Our life expectancy in the U.S. is like 5 years less than Europe. I think there's some things that we got to look into. I think that the medical establishment needs to be questioned. The experts should be questioned. And this is why I support RFK being appointed to the Department of Health and Human Services, okay? He has been appointed to lead that organization as the secretary. And of course, the mainstream liberal media is melting down. Even though the experts acknowledge that, our current experts, the establishment running things, we haven't had great outcomes when it comes to healthcare. But, RFK, he's a crackpot. So therefore, this is even worse than the terrible results that we already have. Take a look.
Let's bring in CNN Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. Sanjay Gupta. Sanjay, I know you like to steer clear of politics, but this really isn't about politics because this is somebody who has been, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has been pushing quackery, who has been pushing lies, who has been pushing conspiracy theories. You've been talking to experts in the health community, the medical community, preparing for him, RFK Jr., to be given some sort of role in health. What have they said to you?
Well, it's not often that the entire medical and public health community is going to be in lockstep on something, but they're pretty close on this in terms of their significant concerns, horror even. Somebody said to me today, I can't think of any single individual who'd be more damaging to public health than RFK. Keep in mind, I think if the reporting's correct and the job is the Secretary of Health and Human Services, that comprises the CDC. We just got through this pandemic, comprises the FDA, comprises the NIH. He's talked about wanting to basically strip funding for infectious diseases overall. Again, just coming out of this pandemic with concerns about other viruses and things out there. The challenge, I think, is that at the same time, there is this whole idea that we're not a very healthy country. We spend $4.5 trillion on healthcare, and we have some of the worst outcomes in the developed world. And our food supply and other things are partly to blame, things that he's talked about. So there's these kernels of agreement with regard to the medical establishment and the public health establishment in particular. But then there's these other things like Caitlin was just talking about that they're not alternative views, they are false views.
Kavita Patel, Dr. Patel, your first reaction.
Oh my God. I mean, those of us who have spent our lifetime, kind of decades working in and around in HHS, I'm not kidding, Nicole, my texts are flying off the chain, both Democrats and Republicans saying, this can't be real. Someone must have gotten this wrong. This can't be possible. And now the second underlying chain, there's some silver linings. The second thought I had is he can't get confirmed, can he? But I'm just listening to you talk about the DNI and all these other roles that require some sort of White House or confirmation or some combination. And here we are. It is really hard to believe. There are career staff texting me saying this was just the push they needed to try to get out. They were already on the fence and worried. So we're not just going to see this incredible kind of integration of ideology that has no science behind it. But Nicole, we're going to see probably the best of the best career staff leaving these agencies potentially hollow that he would oversee.
But I also think the fact that we all feel a little bit, I don't know if flummoxed is the right word, sort of rocked by the increasing incredulity of these choices, is that it is meant to shock us. It's meant to adjust our sense of what is normal, what is possible, and to sort of so disorient us as to what it counts to propose governance in the United States.
Yeah, so no surprises there, right? Just typical meltdowns from the liberal media over this pick, just like they melted down over Matt Gaetz and Tulsi Gabbard and Pete Hegseth and now RFK. Now, what's funny about this is that Trump's picks, the more they come out, the more that the last picks kind of seem more likely to get through the Senate. In fact, if I had to guess, I think that all of these people are going to be confirmed. I think that all of Trump's picks are going to be confirmed. And I got to tell you guys, I like a lot of Trump's picks. I think the picks that I'm most excited about, though, are his economic picks, right? I want to see who he picks to be the secretary for the Treasury. Okay, I want to see who is going to be a part of his economic advisory circle, because that's the main thing that I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to making America rich again, right? I'm just saying, okay? I'm trying to have inflation be lower. I'm trying to see record growth in the stock market. I'm trying to get this country back economically to where it was before the pandemic when Trump was in office, right? That's what I'm trying to do. So that's what I'm the most excited about. But again, I think that his picks have been pretty good. I think that his picks are a good loyalty test for the Republican Party, in the sense that we're going to see which senators are about the Make America Great Again agenda and which senators are not. Okay, which ones care more about the will of the people? The people voted for this. Again, and that's what really makes me laugh about the RFK pick. It's like, no, that's literally what people voted for, right? Like, RFK was an integral part of Trump winning. So people quite literally voted for RFK to get one of these cabinet positions. In fact, I would have criticized Trump if he decided to stiff RFK, right? I didn't think he was going to stiff RFK, but if he decided to do so, yeah, I would have been upset about that, right? I would have criticized Trump and said, that's not right, right? You can't stiff RFK. The dude dropped out and he endorsed you. He definitely helped. I'm not saying he's the only reason Trump won, but it would have been a lot closer had RFK not dropped out and endorsed Trump, because he was taking a significant amount of the vote from Trump when Kamala got into the race. So, with that being said, I just think that his picks are good. I think that the Republicans ultimately are going to fold in the Senate. And I like most of his picks because I recognize that the thing that hindered Trump the most during his first administration in regards to implementing his agenda was backstabbing Republicans, and that he put people in positions of power that were willing to undermine him, right? And I don't think any of these people are going to undermine Trump, right? A lot of these people owe their careers to Trump, right? So I don't think they're going to undermine him. I think they're going to do what they're supposed to do, and they're going to carry out the Make America Great Again agenda, and that's just what it is, right? That's what I voted for. That is what most of the country voted for, right? So the media can boo-hoo, whine, and cry about it. Now, I am seeing some backlash from the right and from the left too. A lot of people say, oh, well, Trump's cabinet is too pro-Israel. And I'm like, well, it doesn't matter who wins. Democrat or Republican, independent, doesn't matter. They're all going to be pro-Israel, right? There is no alternative outcome in regards to Israel, no matter who you vote for, right? So all the kicking and screaming and crying about Israel, and again, I'm not a pro-Israel person, right? I'm a pro-America person. I'm not even one of these people that, like, I think it's cringe. The first thing I see these Republicans doing when they get in a position of power, they calling up Israel, hey, Netanyahu, how can we kiss your ass, right? No, I don't like that. But I recognize that no matter who you vote for, that's what you're going to get, right? So, it's no reason to really make a big deal about something that you can't change, right? It's just not changing, and it ain't worth crying over. So I've seen a lot of people say, well, his cabinet is too pro-Israel. And I'm like, well, it doesn't matter who you vote in. They're all going to be pro-Israel, because 99.999% of the politicians in Washington, everybody is pro-Israel. And that's just the reality of our politics. So it is what it is. But again, what I like about this the most is that Trump has a very centralized cabinet in which all of these people heading these agencies, their sole job is to look out for the people who are trying to undermine the president, right? That's literally what their jobs are, okay? To be honest with you. Because let's be real. These organizations are huge bureaucratic organizations. Yes, a lot of these jobs will be cut. A lot of it will be cut down. But the people that are actually within these organizations, these are the people that actually run the day-to-day, right? So all these people kicking and screaming and crying about, oh, America's going to cease to function and it's the end and blah, blah, blah. It's not the end, right? It's not the end, okay, at all, right? What the job, the task of these individuals to do, again, is to make sure that Trump's agenda, his vision for the country, is being carried out. That's their job. Like, for example, Pete Hegseth, Trump's pick to lead the Department of Defense. A lot of people are left with crying, he's not qualified. He's just a Fox News host. I'm like, wait, hold on. First of all, put some respect on my man's name, okay? Because he's a decorated veteran that has served in combat, okay? So he deserves his respect first and foremost. And furthermore, please tell me how Pete Buttigieg is qualified to be the Secretary of Transportation, right? What qualifies Pete Buttigieg to lead that department outside of liking trains? And he claims he likes trains. I'm not sure if it's the automotives, right? But yeah, he claims he likes trains. That's his only qualification. That's his only qualification. So I don't want to hear anything about that. But when it comes to Pete Hegseth, though, his job leading the Department of Defense is to rid the Department of Defense of wokeness, okay? And to get rid of the generals who are going to backstab Trump, because we know that a lot of Trump's foreign policy agenda in regards to pulling out of some parts of the Middle East, he couldn't do because the woke general said, no, we can't do that. We're going to stab you in the back. Trump says, do something. They said, nah, we're not going to do it. Right? So we can't have that. We cannot have that this time around. That's why he's there. He's also there to help with the recruitment problem. Okay? The United States military has a recruitment problem, specifically when it comes to young white males who traditionally have made up a bulk of the military. They don't want to join the military anymore. They don't want to be police officers anymore. Well, why is that? Why don't they want to serve the country anymore? It's because nobody wants to fight on behalf of this country anymore, because people don't see themselves when they look at the military and what the military is marketing to them. But when you look at Pete Hegseth, look at the guy. He looks like the type of male that we want joining the military, right? The type of guys that we should want fighting for this country. So he's going to change up the marketing. He's going to get back to the old school stuff that worked, that allowed us to have the most lethal fighting force in the world. That's his job, okay? Tulsi Gabbard as the director of national intelligence. Why is she in that spot? Well, because she's been a victim of the bureaucrats in the federal government, the deep state, abusing the powers of our intelligence in order to go after their political opponents. Tulsi Gabbard was on the terrorist watch list, even though she's American. She's not a terrorist. And you know who else the intelligence community tried to undermine and smear as well too? Trump. You guys remember them spying on his campaign? Y'all remember that? Yeah. So if you put some career hack, some establishment hack in charge of national intelligence, somebody that you can't trust, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to abuse the powers of the government to undermine the president. And again, Trump can't have that. Not in this term, because we all know they're going to go out of their way to try to undermine him no matter what, especially considering how he only has 4 years. He only got one term. So they're going to try everything in their power to stop him. So again, I want people to understand what's going on here. Why are these people being picked? And it's not a bad thing. Don't let the media fool you and think that this is a bad, no, it's not a bad thing that these people are trying to look out for the president. And we've seen this before in the past. This is not new. Right? Like, for example, Nixon, he was paranoid as hell, right? You got to have loyal people in your circle. You have to when you're in politics, right? Because it's a blood sport. FDR, who is basically the godfather of the Democrat Party. You know why the Democrats praise FDR so much? It's because he got shit done. Well, how did FDR get shit done? It's because he had loyalists around him. He had people around him that were solely dedicated to implementing his vision. This is why the man got stuff done. He played hardball. And ultimately, that resulted in him getting reelected time after time again. The American people didn't want him to lead the White House. They wanted him to be a dictator. Why? Because, again, he got things done. He was not playing around when it comes to implementing his agenda. Okay? Trump only has one more shot. That's it. In his first 100 days, he wants to do a whole lot of things. He wants a whole lot of accomplishments. He wants to be able to come in and say, I ended the war in Ukraine. He hopefully can come to some type of conclusion in regards to what's going on with Israel and Gaza. And I don't think a lot of people are going to like exactly what's going to happen there. But hey, the end result will probably be peace. It just won't be in a way that a lot of people think there will be. But it'll probably be peace. Okay? Hopefully we don't go to war with Iran. Hopefully the economy is back on track. That we unleash American energy to the point where it starts to lower prices. That we have the mass deportations going. Our border is secure. These are all things that Trump promised. And you have to have people in charge of the departments that run this country that are going to be dedicated to implementing that vision and making it happen. Point blank, period. That's it. So ultimately, at the end of the day, the media, they're going to boohoo, whine, and cry. Well, they're boohoo, whine, and cry because they know that this is a way to effectively carry out a vision. The last thing they want is Trump to carry out his vision, and that is what they're boohoo, whine, and crying about, right? That's what they're crying about. They're not crying because democracy is under attack, right? Or that Trump is going to be some type of dictator. No, they're crying because Trump has learned from his last administration that you need real ones around you or you're not going to get anything done. That's what he learned. That's what he learned. So clearly he is showing the world that, yeah, I learned that this time I'm not playing around. And again, this is what they're afraid of, right? This is what they're boo-hoo-whining and crying about. I expect a vast majority of the Republicans in the Senate to eventually roll over. I think that if Trump can't get most of his picks confirmed, I think that he'll probably end up getting them confirmed through recess appointments. I think it's going to happen. The only person that I'm skeptical about is probably Matt Gaetz, but I think everybody else is probably going to get through. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Matt Gaetz gets through. If he gets through, boy, oh boy, oh boy. Letitia James, Fannie Pack Willis, Alvin Bragg. Yeah. Let's just say they're not going to have a great next 4 years, right? It's going to be really bad for them, okay, over the next 4 years. So I'm just saying, I'm excited, guys. You should be excited as well, too. There's nothing to boo-hoo, whine, and cry about right now. There's nothing to complain about. The man hasn't even gotten office yet. And I'm just liking what's happening right now. But hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.